KIRO 7 Eyewitness News starts right now.
And we continue following breaking news. The National Transportation Safety Board will arrive in Seattle tomorrow to investigate this deadly crash involving a duck boat and a charter bus that shut down the Aurora Bridge. Here is what we know at this hour. 4 people are dead. They are college students at North Seattle Community College.
This crash happened at 11:13 this morning. Dozens of people were injured. At least 12 of them are now in critical condition. And right now, 44 people are being treated at emergency rooms across the city.
We have team coverage of this crash, including its impact on traffic. And we begin with KIRO 7's Allison Grandy, who has been on the scene since the start. Allison?
Steve, Seattle police accident investigators are on the scene right now. They're measuring, taking pictures, and talking to witnesses. We talked to those witnesses, too, who were still rattled by what they saw. Chopper 7 was overhead as first responders worked quickly to save lives. The Ride the Duck and charter bus collided in the middle of the Aurora Bridge, killing 4 passengers.
People were thrown from the duck bus. There were some other people bloodied, unconscious from the other tour bus.
So many people were hurt, aid crews worked quickly to identify the most severely injured, placing them on this red tarp and getting them moved to aid cars first.
I was in the tan SUV, and the duck bus came across my lane and hit the other bus.
Lance Jacobson was right behind the Ride the Duck vehicle.
Just started kind of wandering into the middle lane, so I stayed back a little bit. He overcorrected and went just across all these 3 lanes in the bus.
Witnesses said they saw something wrong with the front left tire on the Ride the Duck.
The left front wheel of the duck bus locked up, causing it to swerve into the oncoming traffic, then T-boning the tour bus.
With 4 people killed and more than 20 more injured, Bradley Sawhill and Brad Volm walked off the Aurora Bridge without a scratch and very thankful.
Just shocked and grateful that I came out unscathed.
State investigators are already working on this crash. The Utilities and Transportation Commission is going through vehicle records and the records for both of those drivers. Investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board will be here in Seattle tomorrow afternoon. Live in Seattle, Allison Grandy, KIRO 7 News.
Now, from Allison, you just heard an eyewitness account from a driver right behind the Ride the Duck's vehicle, and we have put together an animation. It is based on what he saw leading right up to the crash. Lance Jacobson says the Duck's vehicle veered into the middle lane a bit, then to the right, seemed to get too close to the barrier. He overcorrected, shot across 3 lanes and hit the side of that bus. Again, this is just one eyewitness version of what he saw. Investigators will be interviewing many people before they draw their own conclusions. A West Seattle man says he passed the duck boat 1 second before the crash, and he says there seemed to be something mechanically wrong with the duck boat.
KIRO 7's Joanna Small talked to him, and Joanna, he says that he saw that the front wheel, the driver's side wheel of the Ride the Duck's vehicle, and it was turned almost at a 45-degree angle.
That's what he told us, Steve. Kyle Bolton says he moved into the left lane to pass the duck boat, and it was impossible not to notice there was something seriously wrong with that wheel. Let's take a live look at what Chopper 7 is capturing right now. At one point, we saw there were investigators surrounding that wheel, which is no longer attached to the duck boat. Kyle says less than a second after he noticed the issue, he witnessed that violent crash.
I probably wasn't more than a car length, maybe a car length and a half away. It happened almost instantly, almost the second I passed it.
While Kyle Bolton says he's still trying to wrap his head around what happened in his rearview mirror.
And when it hit the passenger bus, I guess it was a tour bus, some people fell out.
He says he has little doubt about how it happened.
I happened to just look to the right, and I saw its left front tire was like that, almost a 45-degree angle. And quickly, I was just thinking that's strange. That looks weird.
You can see it loose on the pavement in the video we shot from Chopper 7. Kyle says he knew something was wrong with it the moment he passed the duck boat, which he says was taking up the entire right-hand lane as well as a portion of the middle lane.
I'm sure he thought he was as far over as he could get, because I've passed those buses several times on Aurora, and they have to take up that much space.
That's what we found out when we shot this video on the Aurora Bridge weeks ago while putting together a story about traffic on the bridge. But Kyle is fairly convinced what he witnessed from just feet away proves the cause of the crash was mechanical.
I guess I felt compelled to say something like, maybe these vehicles aren't very safe. Maybe we should update them.
Kyle Kyle says he called 911 to report that crash immediately and actually called several times to make sure that he got it reported. He also called again to report what he saw before the crash and said he was told his information is on file and investigators will get in touch with him if necessary. Live in the newsroom, Joanna Small, KIRO 7 News.
Well, every emergency room in Seattle was accepting patients from this crash. 44 patients rushed to Harborview's Level 1 trauma unit, Swedish Ballard, Swedish Cherry Hill, Swedish First Hill, Northwest Hospital, and Group Health.
And the most seriously injured are at Harborview, and KIRO 7's Natasha Chen is live there right now. Natasha?
Less than an hour ago, a Harborview spokesperson came out to tell us they have 3 people in surgery right now. They have 17 patients total, and the youngest is a 17-year-old girl, the oldest a 61-year-old man. Now, I happened to be driving a few cars behind the Ducks when this collision happened in front of me, so I pulled over and I was able to talk to some of the people on the bridge who were not seriously hurt. These Chinese international students who attend North Seattle College told me they were on a city tour.
Broken seats, broken into my face.
All of a sudden, a huge bump sent everything flying. This student who spoke to me in Mandarin had some scrapes on her arm. She said suddenly everything fell this way and I was sitting on the floor and a lot of glass was in my eyes. They knew at least one of their classmates was in very bad shape, perhaps even dead. With that trauma on their minds, 25 of them walked to Woodland Park Zoo. Zoo staff trained in emergency response made sure they were all okay.
Our hearts go out to North Seattle College. It's a very hard day.
One of the students who walked to the zoo told me she feels very lucky that she wasn't more seriously hurt. Of course, there are so many others who are at local hospitals, and we'll keep track of how they're doing. Live in Seattle, Natasha Chen, KIRO 7 News.
One of the first on the scene there, Natasha. Thank you. Meantime, KIRO 7's Graham Johnson just spoke with 2 survivors of the crash. He is live at North Seattle College. And Graham, what did they tell you?
Well, Steve, they were in the back of the bus that crashed here. There were 45 people on that bus that crashed. It was one of 2 buses headed to Safeco Field as part of a new student orientation for international students here at North Seattle College. Now, one of the young women got an injury to her face when a seat fell on her. She also lost her glasses and her phone. The other young woman has a scraped arm. We talked with them as they headed back to their homestays in Seattle after meeting with college officials here on campus who have been providing support to survivors. Both young women told me it took them several moments to realize what happened.
I didn't see anything, just heard the sound, and suddenly the seat fell on my face, and I got this, and I smelled the gas, and then jump off the bus.
And glass, they told me, went everywhere. One of the boys aboard opened a window so they were able to escape, and they told me they have not yet had a chance to speak with their parents in China about this accident. Now, the college president came out here a short time ago to provide a phone number, a hotline for members of the North Seattle College community to call with questions. It is 206-934-3672. He also read a short statement saying that our hearts go out to every student, staff member, and individual involved in this tragedy. Live in Seattle, Graham Johnson, KIRO 7 News.
How frightening it must be for those students and families. Well, the Aurora Bridge will remain closed until the Seattle Department of Transportation can inspect the guardrails and the bridge surface to make sure that it's safe for traffic.
And of course, right now, rush hour is really ramping up, and Alexis Smith is tracking the backups and detours from the KIRO 7 Pinpoint Traffic Center. Alexis.
Yeah, and I'd say each minute we get further into the PM rush here as we get closer and closer to really those peak hours, the more I'm seeing traffic increase. So all lanes of 99 closed. You just saw that live shot from Chopper 7. One of the biggest places I'm seeing a backup is southbound I-5, that main line trying to get into downtown. That is really jammed. It is north of Northgate now and then all the way through that downtown core. So really heavy. Southbound lanes close at 46, northbound close at Western. So all that viaduct traffic forced off. Of course, the Ballard Bridge, one of your main alternates, looking pretty heavy right now. Nothing blocking there, though. Expect delays. This is going to get worse before it gets better tonight.
And Alexis, as that bridge is closed right now, KIRO 7's Amy Clancy is live at the north end of the bridge. And Amy, this is causing some problems, as we expected, for traffic.
Absolutely, but we do have some new developments. Take a look behind me. Within the past 20 minutes or so, two tow trucks have been allowed to go down the bridge, and a Seattle police officer told me that those two trucks are expected to bring some of the smaller vehicles that were involved in the accident off the bridge. But at this point, the bridge is still closed. The investigation continues.
I'm literally walking away, and I'm really fortunate.
Mark Gordon of Seattle had to walk off the Aurora Bridge because his pickup was one of the vehicles involved in the multi-vehicle crash. He told KIRO 7 that when the duck crossed the center lines, he swerved to avoid a head-on collision with it and crashed head-on with another vehicle.
It was just terrible. There was so many people and so much pain. I could tell what was going on. I just couldn't wrap my mind around it.
With the exception of ambulances, fire trucks, and the bus that took victims from the scene, the Aurora Bridge has been closed to all traffic ever since the accident, while investigators try to determine exactly what happened and whether the much-traveled span into downtown Seattle is safe.
Once the scene is cleared by police, then SCOT will come in, make sure that there's no damage to any of the guardrails on the bridge, and clean up any spilled fuel, and then reopen it to traffic.
While all 6 lanes of this bridge are closed, the nearby Fremont and Ballard bridges will not open for boat traffic in order to help ease the evening commute. Today, Seattle Mayor Ed Murray warned of significant traffic problems throughout the city for as long as it takes to clear this scene.
It will stay closed for the rest of the day and potentially throughout the evening.
Now, this is a heavy commute area, and a lot of buses go over the Aurora Bridge. If you're on one of them, it has been rerouted. We'll link you to that information on our website. For now, reporting live in Seattle, Amy Clancy, KIRO 7 News.
Our coverage of this deadly accident continues. Next, we're talking to the owner of the Ride the Ducks Seattle, and he'll explain why they shut down their operations for the day.
And we are also digging into the safety records of the duck boat operator, and we're finding out why the tourist attraction has now been banned in other cities.
We continue tracking breaking news. NTSB investigators responding to this deadly crash involving a duck boat and a charter bus. Right now, the Aurora Bridge in Seattle is closed. 4 people dead, all college students. 44 others injured, a dozen of them in critical condition. We spoke with the owner of the Ride the Ducks not long after today's tragic accident. Operations were immediately shut down. Closed signs were posted at the headquarters, and the ticket booth in downtown Seattle was shuttered. Owner Brian Tracy was still gathering information when we spoke with him this afternoon.
It's absolutely devastating, and it's devastating because of the people that were injured, and from what I understand, we've also had some fatalities. I'm not sure of the numbers yet, but it's just devastating. And, you know, you just feel like you've been punched in the stomach.
Tracy says the vehicles are inspected every year. Each vehicle is taken apart and put back together during those inspections. The vehicle involved in today's crash passed a Coast Guard inspection this past March.
Now, these types of duck companies operate all over the world. So what is the accident history of these vehicles?
Jesse Jones is here now with us with why it is good to check a company's history before putting your family on one of these vehicles.
Stephen Monique, that particular vehicle is registered by the Coast Guard as Duck 6, and it passed its latest inspection in March. But according to the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission, the duck fleet has not been inspected in 3 years. The owner has said the ducks have been inspected recently and passed. But after this tragedy, the question is, are ducks safe? There have been issues with ducks for years, with the incidents happening worldwide. In London, a duck bursts into flames. 28 passengers dive into the River Thames. No passengers were seriously hurt. Later, another duck has issues in Liverpool.
The commonality between the majority of these accidents with these duck boats have been mechanical failure.
In 2010, a stalled engine left a duck boat stranded in the Delaware River, only to have a 250-foot boat slam into the duck, dumping 3 dozen into the water. 2 were killed.
The boat was tossing, and it just basically, instead of jumping out, the boat just kind of rolled over, and we've kind of tumbled out.
Then in Arkansas in 1999, 13 people drowned in the sinking of the Miss Majestic. Experts say, check the history of a company before buying a ticket.
I think it's important before you make a decision on which tour operator to use, as far as these duck boats are concerned, is to do some research.
The Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission will inspect the Ride the Duck fleet on Monday, I've just been told. The inspection will include driver qualifications, employee and drug testing, and vehicle maintenance records. I hope to have, I've made a request for these records from 2012. I hope to have them in my hand by 5 o'clock. So hopefully a little later we'll be able to delve into this a little bit. But I'm really interested to see what the history is, because from all, from what it looks like right now, this happens to be a one-time tragedy. But the tale is in the documents.
Older vehicles, but appear to be well maintained. We'll find out more when you get those.
We
records.
will see.
All right, Jesse.
We'll see again. Well, in the moments following the crash, there was initial confusion about the severity of the situation.
KIRO 7 anchor Cindy Kim now takes us back to the beginning to show you how that crash scene developed. Cindy?
Steve, Monique, the accident happened at 11:11 this morning. Seattle firefighters responded to a report of a head-on crash involving a school charter bus, an amphibious tour vehicle, and several cars on the Aurora Bridge.
Initially, it was unclear how serious the crash was, but at 11:22, this DOT cam captured several emergency vehicles on Aurora at 46. Chopper 7 was over the scene 1 minute later at 11:23, and that's when we got our first look at the gravity of the situation. You could see the Ducks vehicle smash the side of the bus, leaving a gaping hole and firefighters climbing in to help those inside. Patients, one right after another, were seen being brought out on stretchers and backboards. At 11:42, all patients had been extricated. 50 people were evaluated. At 11:45, Mayor Ed Murray activates the Emergency Operations Center to coordinate citywide resources to respond to the crash. At 11:53, Seattle Fire confirmed 2 people were dead, 9 were critically injured. At noon, we learned the students on the bus were from North Central Community College. The triage continued as patients are transported to Harborview Medical Center along with several other hospitals in the area. At 12:48, Mayor Murray held a news conference with police and fire officials. He called the crash a tragedy with a terrible loss of life. At 12:50, Fire Chief Harold Scoggins confirmed 4 people were dead on arrival.
And now the focus turns to the investigation. We just saw tow trucks arrive at the scene to try and clear the vehicles. MTSB investigators could arrive tomorrow, and their investigation could take months. Simni Kim, KIRO 7 News.
Answers will be coming today, tomorrow, and in the weeks and months ahead. So stay with the team that stays on this story. Our crews are in place. We will have live updates and a special streaming newscast that's at 5 o'clock. The latest on air, online at KIROTV.com and on all of our social media platforms.
Starting to see a little more cloud cover in the background of the view here from our Queen Anne Tower camera. Still, though, quite a bit of sunshine getting through in Seattle, and we still have quite a bit of heat today. 71 the current temperature at the airport. Winds have dropped just a little. They were up into the teens. I expect them to be up there again. That is because we have a front approaching, and we usually see those gusty south and southwesterly breezes ahead of a front. Meanwhile, sun sets tonight at 7:03, and rain will be moving in late around the Sound. We've already got it right there ahead of the front for our coastal counties. And as we take a closer look at the KIRO 7 pinpoint storm tracker, you can see those showers now edging into Port Angeles and just starting to push across the San Juans. We've had a little bit of activity as we get up into the higher elevations of Whatcom and Skagit counties. Nothing much there just yet, but there will be more before this system pushes through. We'll take you to future track and time out when this moves into Everett, just to the north of Everett around 7 p.m., but a lot more activity as you head up toward Bellingham and then down into Everett as we get you toward 11 p.m., starting to likely see a few spotty showers around Seattle at that point as well, with the bulk of the rain happening after midnight through the early morning commute. So yes, expect to get wet tomorrow morning. But backing up, let's talk about the heat today. Look at this, a lot of 70s on the map. Everett now at 70, 70 for Bremerton, 70 for Tacoma, 73 for Olympia and Chehalis. But that front, as I said, is a cold front. And yes, we are going to cool down behind that front around the Sound, even though sunshine will be returning for the weekend. Before we get to that, let's talk Friday morning around
Seattle, 55 downtown, also 55 for Kirkland, 54 out to Sammamish, 52 for Issaquah. Instead of highs in the 70s, we're talking low to mid-60s, 63 Shoreline, 65 Kirkland, 64 Woodinville, 64 for White Center, 64 for Burien as well. We'll call for 65 at SeaTac, 66 Tacoma, 67 Olympia. Still in the 70s for Wenatchee and Ellensburg, just a slight chance of showers there, but I mentioned you should expect a wet morning commute. The rain is not going to stick around for long, though. Tapers off to just some spotty showers, more cloud cover than anything else pretty quickly, and I do anticipate we'll get some sun breaks at times on Friday. Again, the bulk of the rain happens overnight tonight through early tomorrow morning. Into the weekend, we start your Saturday with some fog, and then that gives way to sunshine. Sunshine for the Seahawks, home opener, high of 65, and we'll carry the sunshine and 60s ahead into the next week.
Coming up next, the nation's top lawyer is in Seattle with a call to end what she calls modern-day human slavery.
Plus, a lifeline for hundreds of military families. The help today for Joint Base Lewis McChord soldiers in the wake of hundreds of job cuts.
As we've been reporting, the Aurora Bridge will remain closed until the Seattle Department of Transportation can inspect guardrails, bridge surfaces, just to make sure it is safe for traffic.
Now, Alexis Smith is tracking the backups and the detours from the KIRO 7 Pinpoint Traffic Center. Alexis?
Yeah, it is steadily getting worse. So as we're getting further and further into the afternoon commute here, into the evening, we still have all lanes of northbound 99 closed. That starts at Western, so that northbound traffic off the viaduct having to detour. Southbound lanes are closed from 46 in Fremont. Actually, so just saw a pretty interesting tweet go by from Seattle DOT. They're setting up a temporary bus-only lane on Westlake Avenue. This is to help get northbound transit, so King County Metro buses, over to use the Fremont Bridge instead. That is, of course, because of the Aurora Bridge closure. So we'll see what that does to regular traffic as well. Another update, we've got some pretty heavy traffic on I-5. That's coming up.
All right, Alexis, the nation's top attorney is in Seattle tonight. U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch is here in part to announce details of a $44 million grant to combat human trafficking, which she equated to modern-day slavery. Seattle will get $1.5 million to help police fight human trafficking over the next 3 years. The nation's largest job fair for military service members is underway at Joint Base Lewis McChord.
KIRO 7's Kevin McCarty was there as thousands of people packed the base, planning for life after service.
Came by the thousands, filling 3 hangars at Joint Base Lewis McChord. Men and women from every branch of the military meeting with potential employers, planning for the day they leave military service.
There's a lot of opportunities for soldiers that are trying to get out. It's a really good opportunity out here.
Companies like Starbucks have pledged to hire veterans. The coffee company wants 10,000 former military on its payroll. So far, they've already hired more than 4,600.
And we realize, as a veteran myself, that there's a lot of veterans coming out of the service that have great skill sets.
It's hard to know how many people here will actually find jobs, but the Army tells me last year, more than 300 service members were hired immediately after the job fair. We talked to soldiers who say they still have some time left in military service, but they're not waiting. They want to plan for their future back in civilian life.
A lot of people see Starbucks and think just their food and bakery company instead of the corporate company and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot of options here.
At Joint Base Lewis McChord, Kevin McCarty, KIRO 7 News.
And next year on KIRO 7, Thursday night football, followed by the KIRO 7 post-game show, KIRO 7 News at 9, and then it is Steve Rapel's scouting report at 10, and the night wraps up with KIRO 7 at 11.
We are heading over now to KIROTV.com with developing information on the Aurora Bridge accident. We want to thank you for trusting KIRO 7 News. You can look for breaking stories and updates throughout the night at KIROTV.com. And again, we'll see you after the post-game show and NFL football tonight here on KIRO 7 and CBS.